Healing through humor. Following the directions. A young Yapeti was sick and tired of all those Yapeti stories and how all Yapeti were perceived to be shallow and dumb. She made up her mind that she would show her new husband that she was really smart. One day while he was at work, she foresaw a can of paint and decided to paint the living room. Her husband arrived home at 5:30 and smelled the distinctive odor of paint. He walked into the living room and found his wife lying on the floor on a full of sweat. He observed that she was wearing a ski jacket as well as a fur coat. He went over to ask if she was okay. She acknowledged that she was. He then asked what she was doing. She replied that she had set out to improve to him that not all Euphrates were dumb, and to do so, she had elected to paint the living room. He then asked why she was wearing both a ski jacket and a fur coat. Her response was that she read the directions on the paint can and they said, for fast result, put on 2 coats. 2 girls were being observed in a parking lot. They were walking with a coat hanger and locked Mercedes. Soon the first girl said, hurry up, it's starting to rain and the top is down. An inexpensive pair of shoes. A young Euphrates was on vacation in the back country of Louisiana. She wanted a pair of genuine alligator shoes in the worst way, but was very reluctant to pay the high price the local vendors were asking. After becoming very frustrated with the no haggle attitude one of the shopkeepers, the Yefati shouted, maybe I'll just go out and catch my own alligator so I can get a pair of shoes at a reasonable price. The shopkeeper responded, by all means, be my guest. Maybe you will look out and catch yourself a big one. Determined, the Yefati headed for the swamps, set on catching herself an alligator. Later in the day, the shopkeeper was driving home and she spotted the young woman standing deep in the water, shotgun in hand. Just then, she saw a huge 9-feet alligator swimming quickly toward her. She took aim and killed the creature, and with a great deal of effort, hauled it up on the swamp bank. Laying nearby were several more of the dead creatures. The shopkeeper watched in amazement. Just then, the Yapeti flipped the alligator on its back and prostrated, shouted out, this one isn't wearing any shoes either. What's the price? I got this great new hearing aid the other day. Are you wearing it now? Yes, cost me $4,000, but it's top of the line. What kind is it? 1230. Jimmy and Johnny panting and pulling on their tandem bike. Finally reached the top of the long steep hill. Phew, gasped Jimmy. What a climb! Sure was, agreed Johnny. If I hadn't kept the brake on, we'd have gone down backward. Too much salt. A young military pilot spent 60 years in a Soviet salt mine after being shot down. One evening after his release, he was parked in rubber rain with his girlfriend. His girlfriend asked him what he thought about while he was in prison for 6 years, hoping it was she. Without a pulse, the young pilot startled her with his reply, "Pepper." Boasting. In San Jose, Costa Rica, there is a huge hospital covering 2 blocks. One day, a cab driver picked up 3 passengers at the San Jose airport. The first one, from New York, bragged about how Yankee Stadium was built in less than 2 years. The second, from Rome, spoke up and boasted that the Colosseum was built by slave labor in only 10 months. The third, a Texan, was not to be outdone. Why? They built the Astrodome in 6 months. About this time, they passed a huge hospital. "What's that building?" one asked. "I don't know," answered the cab driver. "It wasn't there this morning." During a history lesson, a teacher asked a student, "Steve, do you believe that George Washington could have pitched a dollar across the Potomac River, as the saying goes?" The student looked up and quickly answered, "I guess so. Our history book says he pitched his camp across the Delaware River when the British were pursuing him." A businessman called with a question about document he needed in order to fly to China. After a lengthy discussion about the passport, I reminded them that he needed a visa. "Oh no, I don't. I've been to China many times and never had to have one of those," he responded. I double-checked, and sure enough, his stay required a visa. When I told him this, he replied, "Look, I've been to China 4 times, and every time they have accepted my American Express card. A fellow was found with a rope around his wrist, strung from a right picture. His body caught him loose and said, "What do you think you are doing?" "I'm committing suicide." "You've had to put the rope around your neck if you really wanted to commit suicide." I only tried that, and it was choking me. Short stories. A woman motorist was driving along a country road when she noticed a couple of repairmen climbing telephone poles. "Fool!" she climbed. "They must think I have never driven a car before." More funny stories. A college dean was berating a veteran economics professor for having used the same test for the past 35 years. "Don't you realize, Professor, that the students have been sharing these tests for decades, and that all of your students know exactly what's on the test before they sit for it?" "Doesn't matter," replied the professor. "I just kept changing the answers." Short and funny. "That is Black Mountain?" "Yes, sir. Highest mountain around Lake George." "Any story or legend connected with that mountain?" "Lots of them. 2 lovers once went up that mountain and never came down again." "Indeed. Why? What becomes of them?" "Went down the other side." Quickies. A man asked, "Do these stairs take you to the 3rd floor?" The other person said, "No, you have to walk." A customer says to the salesman, I want to try on that shoot in the window. The salesman said, Oh, sir, we couldn't allow that. You have to use the dressing room like everyone else. Listen, a woman went through 3 rides in a row. They were on the truck in front of her. Quick observations. In 1920, the United States Post Office ruled that children could not be sent by parcel post. Makes you wonder what was going on before that ruling? A friend of mine hates M&Ms because they are so hard to peel. Thinking about life, Confucius said, to make egg roll, push it. Why? Why is the third hand on a watch called the second hand? An accountant was having a hard time sleeping, so he went to see his doctor. Doctor, I just can't get to sleep at night. Have you tried counting sheep? That's the problem. I make a mistake and then spend 3 hours trying to find it. With a car like that, my advice is to keep it moving, instructed the mechanic to the concerned owner. Why? Asked the owner. If you ever stop, the cops will think it's an accident.